All right, we're about to jump into a pretty wild idea, one that could totally re-engineer the whole concept of management. It's called the Autonomic Incentive Architecture. And yeah, it's basically governance by algorithm, not by a boss. So let's just kick things off with a pretty bold question, right? Is managing people just a waste of time? I mean, really think about that. It kind of shakes the foundation of how we build companies, but it gets right to the core of what we're exploring here. And the thinking behind that question is actually pretty simple. If you find yourself constantly having to tell people to work hard, chasing them for deadlines, trying to motivate them, the argument is that you don't have a people problem, you have a system problem. The whole setup is just broken.
So how do you fix a broken system like that? Well, we're not going to look at the latest trendy management book. Nope. We're actually going way, way back to an ancient secret for creating order. And it's all built on this idea that human nature, the fact that we're all a bit self-interested, isn't a bug to be squashed. It's a feature you can actually use.
If you look back through history, there are basically two ways people have tried to govern. On one hand, you've got moral preaching. Just kind of hoping people do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. But then there's this other path, an ancient Chinese philosophy called legalism. And it's totally different. It's not about hoping. It's about designing a system where people have to do the right thing.
So the core idea of legalism is this. People are self-interested. Let's just accept that. And instead of trying to fight it, let's use it. This philosophy says, look, real lasting order doesn't come from giving great speeches or sermons. It comes from building a really well-designed, impersonal system. And that is the foundation for everything we're talking about today.
Okay, so that brings us right to the main event, the Autonomic Incentive Architecture. You can think of it as the modern, super high-tech version of that ancient idea. It's where ancient wisdom meets modern tech, swapping out a manager's gut feelings for an algorithm's pure logic.
So what the heck is an Autonomic Incentive Architecture, or AIA for short? Well, put simply, it's a framework for guiding people without, telling them what to do. Instead of a boss giving orders, you carefully design the environment itself, using algorithms to create these automatic incentives. The result? It guides people's behavior without a manager ever having to say a single word.
If you look at the intellectual DNA of this idea, it's really a mix of three things. First, you've got that ancient root we talked about, legalism, this idea of thinking in systems. But then it gets supercharged with two bits of modern science. From behavioral economics, it grabs the idea that you can use little nudges to influence what people do. And from cybernetics, it takes this awesome concept of self-regulating systems, things that use feedback to automatically correct themselves and stay on track.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work in the real world? Well, the whole goal is to make selfishness efficient. It's about creating a kind of invisible hand inside the organization, a system that just automatically points everyone's natural self-interest toward the company's goals.
And the core principle behind it all is, honestly, it's beautiful in its simplicity. You just design the environment, the rules, the rewards, all of it, in such a way that the easiest, most selfish choice for any person is also the exact thing you want them to do. You make their self-interest and the company's interest the exact same thing. Okay, let's make this real with an example. Imagine you're a coach and you want your star athlete to get more sleep. Now, the old way is to nag them, right? Did you get your 8 hours? The AIA way is totally different. You design a system. You don't track their sleep at all. Instead, you measure their reaction time in morning practice, and if it's slow, an automated fine kicks in. Suddenly, to perform their best and, not lose money, the athlete chooses to go to bed earlier. The system managed them without anyone having to say a thing.
And the reason this works so well is because of an automated feedback loop. It's really clever. When you do the right thing, the thing that helps the team, your work just gets easier. Things just flow. But the moment you do something that's counterproductive, the system automatically creates a little bit of friction, an immediate, totally impersonal consequence, just like that fine for the athlete. The system basically corrects itself, instantly.
And this way of thinking leads to this really powerful, almost revolutionary new way for leaders to see themselves. Instead of saying, oh, I manage a team of 10 people, they can say something much more impactful. They can say, I don't manage people. That's totally inefficient. I install an autonomic incentive architecture. Now, that sounds pretty bold, right? But the reason you can make a claim like that is because the system is literally designed to manage itself. The incentives aren't based on a manager's mood that day or some fuzzy gut feeling. The goal is for them to be, well, mathematically perfect. They're precisely calibrated to get the results you want, automatically.
So if the system just runs itself, you're probably asking, well, what's left for a leader to do?
It's a great question, and it points to a completely new role for leadership. See, in this kind of model, a leader's job isn't about giving orders and checking up on people anymore. Their job completely shifts from being a boss to being an architect. Their whole focus is on designing, building, and constantly tweaking the system that everyone else works inside of. And this all leaves us with one last, kind of mind-bending question to chew on. What if you could actually build the perfect system? A truly flawless, self-governing, autonomic incentive architecture. At that point, is a leader, even an architect, still necessary? Or does the machine finally, truly, run all by itself?